Wow.
Oh,
whoa.
Whoa, steady,
The
man.
hell
Easy.
happened to
Wow,
there?
easy.
Ooh, never mind.
Wow.
When I signed on to do this, come briefly out of retirement, I was told this would be a small gathering of about 40. Apparently, when you advertise a free breakfast in New York, this is more like an upscale soup kitchen, I guess. You guys couldn't get into the Justin Bieber concert over? Yeah, well, okay. If I seem a little nervous, it's because I am. This was billed as a conversation between Paul Giamatti and Ed Maddox. I raised some objections to the order of that, Giamatti, Maddox.
Right, sounds better the other way around.
It does. I was told it was alphabetical. But as my wife would tell you, I don't talk to anybody at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm certainly not very pleasant if I do. So I say that just so that you understand we're setting the bar very low this morning, okay? I'm just overwhelmed that so many of you would receive this invitation to come this morning and would all turn out to see moi.
Yeah.
And I know Paul has prepared a number of questions to engage me in conversation, and I'm interested in. I'd also like to thank Chris Vlasto. Chris's work on the annual fund, a way of giving back to the school. The fact that you're here this morning, as I said, you're not being charged for your breakfast. The expectation, of course, is that you double your gift to the annual fund this year, everybody. Doug Berman, twice times 0 doesn't mean that you might want to think about upping that to $5 next year. But okay, enough of that. Morning, Paul.
Morning, man. How are you?
I haven't seen you in a while.
No, it's been a while. Yeah. How you doing?
You really don't want to know.
No, I don't, do I?
I'm dying.
You want a Bloody Mary up here?
Scotch, please. Thank you for coming. I know you're extremely busy.
No, I'm
Paul
not.
Just
I'm
got
not
back.
working. I'm unemployed right now, so I got plenty of time.
You mean you're not working this morning?
I'm not working at all right now, so I'm good.
That's not true, actually. Paul just got back Wednesday night from Europe,
yes,
where he was working.
Yeah.
And of course, later today, his new film, Rock of Ages, is being released.
All right.
You think you can get me
some tickets?
A ticket?
Sure, man.
I get
absolutely.
the senior citizens discount.
Well, you don't need a ticket from me then, man. You're good. You're in.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd like to begin this conversation by going back to 1963.
Okay.
Where were you?
I was just a gleam in my father's eyes. 1963, I wasn't alive, man.
God, you know how that hurts?
No.
But in 1960,
why? What happened? Okay.
1963, I was on the faculty at the Harvard School in Los Angeles, and at a faculty meeting, we had a guest speaker, a man named Seymour St. John, came out and spoke to our faculty. He was headmaster of some boarding school back east called Coate or something, a place I'd never heard of. Oddly enough, 49 years later, I remember distinctly 3 things Seymour said at that meeting. And he was talking about kinds of students that places like Harvard and what I later learned was pronounced Choate, looked for in at that time. Choate was of course all boys, and Seymour said we look for boys who display 3 qualities. 1, they're intellectually curious.
Okay.
Secondly, they're willing to take risks in the pursuit of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing he said, and the one that really sort of stayed with me, was we look for boys with a little bit of cussedness. Cussedness. Exhibit A. Paul Giamatti.
I think I probably had too much cussedness.
Well, I don't know. You think?
Yeah? I don't know.
I remember when I think my first encounter with you was about 30 years ago. And I walked into a fourth form English class after I came back from my sabbatical in 1983 in the winter term, and you were a student in that class. Then in the spring term, since I couldn't handle the class by myself, I had a teaching intern, John Schwartz.
Sure.
John's here somewhere this morning. John was doing a senior project, and he TA'd with me in that class. And I remember John sort of calling you to my attention as saying something about, this Giamatti kid.
It's trouble.
Were you
No,
there?
what I remember.
Were you
No, what
there?
I remember that, and what I remember is that actually, because I had not been terribly successful in my third form year in my English class, I was in a somewhat remedial English class.
They always put me with the remedial
They put me in a
students.
somewhat remedial English class, and I had a very nice teacher named Chip Lowry, who said, "You shouldn't necessarily be in the remedial English class." I thought that was very nice of him. And I said, "You can move up if you'd like." I thought, why the hell would I want to move out of the remedial English class? I'm doing great here. But he put me in that class. I thought you were actually teaching it as well as John, but I showed up sort of in the middle of things. So my feeling is probably John was like, some kid has landed in the class right now.
John was a
and you
sixth
need to
former,
check
but it
him
was a
out.
remedial class.
It was remedial.
Yeah.
So I remember meeting you then.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, and you were very hard on me. That's
Yeah.
all I remember.
The fact that it was...
You were very hard on me. I remember you in the first class, he went over and he went, "There's no chalk here. There's no chalk here." He said, go find me some chalk. So I went down the hallway and I'm like, Jesus, great. I'm glad I left the remedial English class. And I come back in and I give you the chalk. You said, "Every day you will bring chalk into the class. You will be the bearer of the chalk." I'm like, great, this is great.
This is not going well. is it?
No, this is the truth.
No.
No, it was great. It was a really good thing.
The fact that it was 30 years ago that may explain why I get emails from Paul today. Occasionally he begins, if you send someone an email or a letter, you say, "Dear Ed," or "Hi," or "What's up?" Paul starts his emails to me with the line, the salutation, "All hail, thou ancient of days."
Really?
Where does that come
I
from?
don't know, that's
And
right.
then as we go on to this with this shtick,
Yeah.
he lapses into Elizabethan prose.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
You, man. It was from you. It was from you teaching me that
Do
stuff.
I remember that your freshman year at Yale, you actually took a course in Anglo-Saxon language?
Yeah. Yes,
Did you?
I did. Yeah.
We hardena in herdagum.
Wow.
Go on.
Yeah. You want another Bloody Mary, or you?
I thought maybe we could do this.
All I remember one line from Beowulf, which is, "Gaith a weird swatio shall," which is "fate goes as it must." That's the only thing I remember. That's it.
Didn't stick.
No, it didn't stick. But I took Anglo-Saxon.
You took
at Yale.
Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah.
The only student that I'm aware of that I ever had in class who actually took a course in Anglo-Saxon as a language.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. Yeah.
Then in '84, Tom Generous and I were taking a group of kids to England over spring break. Tom and I had done this for a number of years, and I decided I wanted to go over a week or so early and go to Berlin. I'd never been to Berlin. And our friends, the Goodyears, who are also here this morning, where's Zach and Julie? Up here in the front. Zach and Julie that was the year 83, 84. They took the year 83, 84. They took a leave of absence and taught at a school outside of Geneva. So I wanted to go by and spend a couple of days with them, and then a couple of days in Paris, and then plan to travel on to London to meet Generous and the kids that were coming over for our 10 days in England. Gina, were you on that trip? Remember, no stories make it through customs.
No.
Yeah, good. And somehow I noticed as I was boarding the plane to fly to Berlin that you were with me.
I just showed up.
How did that happen?
You invited me along.
Why?
I have no idea, man. No, it was extraordinary. You said to me, you want to try out. I was going to go on that trip to
England.
London.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to the trip to England.
You're cutting out.
I know. Am I? What's going on? I'm a professional. I should be able to.
You button your shirt.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to button my shirt. All right.
You changed.
How's that? I put on a nice shirt.
Yeah, you did. Right?
I put on my one nice shirt.
Did they give those out downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was supposed to go to England, and for some reason, should I just talk like this? For some reason, I'm good. For some reason, you invited me along to go to, right on. Oh. No, seriously? To go with you to Germany. And by the way, obviously it was East and West Germany at that time.
Oh yeah, this was 88, spring of 84.
I don't know why you invited me, but it was incredibly kind, and it was an amazing thing, and I was very eager to do it. So we went over to Germany, we went to Berlin, and at some point we actually went into East Berlin.
Before we left, I called Paul's father just to verify that he had permission to go to Germany, and to reassure him that I would take good care of him.
I'm sure that was very reassuring.
And he said I would ask. He said, Mr. Maddox, I'd ask one thing. Please never let Paul go off on his own.
That's right.
Make sure he stays with you.
Yes.
He doesn't wander off.
I had a tendency
Well, there was
to
a red
off.
flag. So we're in Berlin, and we want to go into East Berlin. And of course, I started to say, so we were going through Checkpoint Charlie, and someone said last night, well, most of the people here were not even this morning, weren't even born in 1985 and may not even know what Checkpoint Charlie was.
Right.
I said if that's the case, they should return their choke diploma.
Yeah.
But Checkpoint Charlie was this maze of barbed wire and barriers and East German.
It was the major point of entry.
It was a major transit point from west to east.
Right.
And you remember that? Remember that?
Oh, yes, I remember it vividly, absolutely.
Not as vividly as I do, but
no,
you go ahead and tell the story.
Well, you seem to think I was arrested or something.
You were.
I was not arrested. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. What do you think happened? What do you remember happened?
You tell them.
I can remember that we were standing in the line at Checkpoint Charlie, and there were two Swedish guys in front of us who were about, I don't know, they were like 18,
Swedish?
19. See, this is what I remember. 18, 19 years old, and the one guy was being difficult. He was sort of yelling stuff out, and the guards, the Stasi, kept coming up to him and talking to him. And of course, you and I were like, great, we're behind the two, Nobel Peace Prize winning dissident lunatics in line. Of course, we're stuck behind these guys. And the guy had a big no nukes button on. You don't remember any of this?
Yes.
Right.
You.
I was not doing this. No.
Well, go on.
And so the Stasi guys eventually came up and hauled those guys off. They did not haul me off.
They hauled you off.
Dude, I would remember if I got hauled off by the Stasi. Unless they beat me with rubber truncheons and I blacked out or something.
Hey, work with me on this.
All right, man.
This is the story I've told for 30 years.
Oh.
Don't.
Shit, sorry. Oh. Yes, I got arrested.
remember you're being hauled out of line because you had on this old fatigue jacket,
right,
and you had some sort of a peace button.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. And and they hauled you out of
That's
line,
right. Yep,
and took you back into some back room.
Right.
And I'm thinking, now how do I explain this to Dr. Giamatti?
It's a much better story, man. It's a much better story. Dude, I wouldn't be here if I gotten hauled off and arrested by the Stasi. Come on. I mean, I'm really happy you've made me the star of a much more interesting story than the one, but it was the Swedish dudes in front of us. Because I remember this. I can remember going up and giving our papers to a woman behind the desk.
Yes.
Very beautiful in the Stasi uniform with a crazy, like Betty Page haircut. She was amazing looking. And I remember that. I remember smiling at her. I got a little smile back. I was like, wow, I got the hot Stasi guard to give me a smile. It was like, I bet nobody gets a smile out of the hot Stasi guard. And that's what happened. But you keep telling the story of me getting arrested.
You remember certain details about hot Stasi guards.
Absolutely.
I have no recollection of.
No.
All I have a
You were in a
recollection
blind
of is
panic the whole
seeing
time.
you disappear
No,
with these two
I don't remember
big
being...
East German police into some back room.
I cannot remember being arrested by the Stasi,
Well,
but I'll keep searching the memory banks.
They
and
must
see.
have given you some sort of drugs.
They gave me a serious working over. They gave me a serious working over.
Moving right along. This is going well.
Really well.
You remember the flight home?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I remember the flight home. We were taken off from Heathrow. Is this what you mean? Didn't the plane get hit by lightning?
Well, you understand that I have this little thing about flying. I have to be heavily medicated just to drive past an airport. But to get on an airplane requires a straitjacket, basically.
I remember this, and somehow I ended up sitting next to you, which I was like, great. I was sitting next to Ed. I can't drink on the plane. And I believe the plane got hit by lightning or something. Is that possible?
So
the plane could get hit by... Yeah, no, I remember this one. But the plane got hit or something happened.
But it was more than that.
But I remember the plane dipped.
Well,
precipitately fell, and you started panicking.
No, there was suddenly this bright flash of light.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the whole interior of the plane. Yeah, you're right. Smoke.
Shook.
Yeah. And I said, we're going down, man.
Exactly.
I was like, yes, we're going down. Yeah. Oh, wow, really?
I don't think they could hear you.
Am I shouting too loud, man?
Yeah. I'm in, of course.
We're in steerage.
They're looking for the paddles for me. And Paul is, we're going down. I've never seen anybody so thrilled at the prospect of ending up among the junk
on the tarmac at Heathrow.
From a 747.
Absolutely.
The doctor came back and he prescribed brandy.
That's right.
The rest of the trip for me.
Doctor came back. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry about that. You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize now.
Why couldn't I have been sitting next to Gina?
Oh.
Is there a doctor on the plane? Is there a doctor on the plane? Oh my God.
Maddox. Gotta be Maddox.
Yeah, well, okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay. Now, while you were at Choate, you were really known for two things. Well, you may have been known for a lot of things, but one of them really wasn't your work in the theater. You were known as an athlete.
Really?
Can you believe it?
I know. Really?
Paul was a swimmer. Backstroke.
Yeah.
How could you couldn't see where you were going?
Yeah, that was part of the fun. That was part of the fun.
Yeah.
No, Dan Corse and I were just saying you could breathe the whole time when you did backstroke. You could pull on the rope occasionally and just much easier.
But the other thing that Paul drew and wrote a comic strip, called Skeezer for the Choate News that appeared, if not weekly, certainly bi-weekly.
I think maybe once a week we did it.
And where did that come
I
from?
don't really remember. I really don't remember. Somebody knew I would draw. I mean, I liked to cartoon, and that was a thing that I actually thought I would end up doing with myself, was being an animator or something like that, because I like drawing so much. But I don't remember who talked me into doing it. And I didn't really, I mean, I drew a thing, but I had a friend named Chris Weltzine, who was a day student with me, because I was a day student. And he really kind of wrote them. We'd think them up once a week. We would go and sit in a weird room somewhere up, I can't remember where, and I would draw it. And
he would do the
Yeah,
text?
we would kind of think it up together. We would drink cheap beer in his Camaro. And we would and I think we did like Sunday night or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
We used to do it once a week.
Yeah, there really hasn't, since that time, there hasn't been anything the equivalent.
They never did another thing like that. Yeah, it was fun doing that.
Skeezer lives on.
Yeah, it was just supposed to be a kind of, I don't know, it was like, I drew ones about you and teachers and stuff like that. And,
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, man, yeah. And it was, I don't know, it was just a fun thing. It was supposed to be like a...
Did you do the one when the I Am Pay design for the Science Center came out, and the cartoon had it spelling out the word "you"?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay.
Great.
I won't
Moving on.
go any further than that. It just
No,
said
I don't think
"you."
that was me. I think that was, I don't know. No.
Okay.
All right.
Did your experience as a cartoonist,
Yeah.
did that in any way shape or influence your work as you portrayed Harvey Picard in American Splendor?
Well, only because I knew who he was, because of my interest in cartooning and stuff like that. So sure, I mean, yeah, it made me. I was aware of him, even in high school. Even then, I was aware of him, and then through college.
You were?
So, yeah, oh yeah, he was great. Okay. Yeah, he was great. Okay. So sure, but he was not. He didn't actually draw. He just wrote the things. Yeah.
Now, as I said, you were not really known as a PMACer. Now, in today's
What the devil is a PMACer? What the blazes? What's a PMACer?
I'm going to tell you.
Paul
a
Miller.
PMACer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see,
Wow, all
today,
these years later. Is that what they called that place?
It seems to be a more modern term now. But
okay.
Kids who spend a lot of time in the arts, in the art center, they may do 2 or 3 productions a year. They're known as PMACers,
right?
Because they spend a lot of time in the PMAC, in the
Yes.
art center.
Yes.
You really, as I recall, didn't spend a lot of time.
No, I was an athlete, evidently, according to you. So I was spending all my time in the pool. I didn't even have any intention of doing theater
But
there.
you were in, I know your senior year, a couple of plays. You were the Real Inspector, you know the play, The Real Inspector Hound?
I do know that play,
and
yes.
you were cast as the BBC voice.
Wrong again.
No, that's what you say.
I played the dead body in The Real Inspector Hound. Literally, I laid on the stage dead. There's a dead body that they pull on stage. This was my, this was my shining debut. I played a dead body in The Real Inspector. There's a guy dead the entire time on stage. And every night I would lie there, and my circulation was so poor, even though I was such an athlete, I would lie there for a really long time. And the first time I laid on my arm, and I was like, I look really good this way if I'm dead this way. So my arm falls asleep. And then my entire side starts falling asleep. And I couldn't feel the floor and stuff like that. And so I'm in the middle of thinking, holy shit, I'm falling. I can't be falling. I'm lying on the floor. I can't be falling. I'm panicking. And I'm in a blind panic playing the dead body on the floor. The Real Inspector Hound. I may have done the voice too, I don't remember. I wasn't, see, but again, somebody just asked me as a gag to do that.
In the program, you're listed as the BBC voice.
All right, well, that might be accurate too.
Was that a behind-the-scenes thing?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I must have recorded something.
And sort of, where did you get your
inspiration
motivation for the body part?
For the body part. Yeah. I just dug deep inside, Ed, and I projected head to my own demise and thought about it. And
yeah, all right, fine. That's enough of that.
All right.
Did you do any other stage work at Yale?
Well, I did do a lot, yeah. I mean, you were saying I didn't really intend to do plays and stuff at show, particularly, and I ended up in a couple just as a kind of lark, you know. I mean, it was, and they were really fun, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, I did a lot of things at Yale, but it was all extracurricular. You know, I think the year I got there, they started a theater major, and I had no intention of being an actor or anything. So it was all extracurricular theater that I did there. Yeah.
And you graduated from Yale in 86.
89.
I'm sorry, 89. But you yourself
who did the background work for you? Who did all the fact checking for you? Who'd you farm this out to?
I did it myself.
Okay, great.
Last night.
All right, yeah, clearly last night.
Late.
Sure it wasn't this morning? Just Googling stuff like crazy?
Yeah, but I had problems because I kept misspelling your name.
I know, people do. Just
after Yale, what happened?
What happened after Yale?
Look at my notes.
All right, fine.
Because I have the answers here as well as the questions. You may have noticed.
I did. I see them.
Yeah.
What happened after Yale? That's what you're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, when you graduated in 89, did you go to work on Wall Street? Or?
No. No, I moved out to Seattle. That's Washington State. And I moved out there because I had friends who had done theater, but I wasn't.
Friends?
I had a few. I had 2 or 3, and they were all. They moved out. They were from Seattle. I had a girlfriend from Seattle, and I had visited her there, and it seemed like a nice place. And I'd thought about. I knew a guy who was doing animation stuff out there, trying to start a little animation thing on his own, and so I went out there to try to do that. But that's really a useless, futile pursuit. And so I ended up, doing.
Tell Gary Trudeau that.
Well, I mean, that's the guy who made it. He's the guy. He's the animator who made it. So I ended up just doing sort of little theater. It didn't pay me anything. Just again, because I loved doing it. It was a lark. It was fun.
It was sort of local, regional.
Yeah, I didn't do any good regional theater. I did a lot of really sketchy kind of black box theater, and I think everybody was chemically altered while we were doing a lot of this theater. And so it was that kind of stuff, and it was fantastic. And at that time in Seattle, there was tons of that stuff. So I did a lot of that, and by accident, by complete sort of just by luck, there's one agent in Seattle, and the woman said, "Do you want an agent?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I started getting paid acting work, really crappy, sketchy paid acting work. But I was like, well, I could maybe make a living at this. And then I thought, well, the hell with it. I won't do this other stuff. If I can make a living doing this, I will.
Yeah.
So that's,
And what would you consider your breakout role to have been? Where you sort of made that transition from that sort of sketchy...
I still do a lot of sketchy stuff, Ed. I guess, I don't know. I mean, it depends. I never really think of it that way. I mean, certainly when I came back to New York, I got a lot of great theater work, which is all I thought I was going to do and all I kind of intended to do. So I did great theater stuff. I mean, luckily I landed on Broadway really early on doing Tom Stoppard and stuff like that, and all kinds of stuff, Eugene O'Neill and Chekhov. I was doing all this great stuff. And so that was, to me, it. I mean, that was great, and I've always thought that was it. I mean, I landed doing that was great. And then I was doing a lot of playing, homeless police informants and, every variety of homeless guy, and I mean, on like TV stuff, and film stuff. I played a lot of like bartenders and cops and plumbers and maintenance men and stuff like that.
You sort of look the part.
Exactly. So
homeless.
Yeah, homeless. I look like a homeless maintenance man. Yeah. So I did a lot of that, and that's what supported me doing theater. And so then I don't know. I guess I did this Howard Stern movie, which was a big step up for me, the Howard Stern picture. And I did that, which was really fun. And I don't know, I guess American Splendor, probably film-wise, was the thing that gave me more film work.
Yeah, the Howard Stern movie, Private Parts.
Yeah.
You played...
Has everybody seen that here?
If you haven't, you should. Paul has, and I won't say this is true of all of his characters, but he does have a pretty good repertoire of sketchy characters.
Yeah, very sketchy characters.
Sort of sleazebags
Yeah.
that he plays.
The
And-
character in that is a Southerner.
Are you,
And
you're going
it
somewhere
was
with
slightly
that?
based on you, that character. There were moments. There were moments when you came to mind for that character.
Well,
Just
that-
his assertiveness and his,
You know, we all in our careers, you start someplace, but you aspire to move to higher levels, or greater heights, or more success. Paul started in private parts. His character is named.
Wow. You're up, man. You're up and moving around.
His
All right.
his character is named Pig Vomit.
Yeah.
That's his name, Pig Vomit. So he started starting. Oh,
Holy cow.
was that my pants?
You're good. You're all right. You're
He's
all good.
starting down here playing somebody named Pig Vomit.
Yeah.
But I want you to know there's hope because he's evolved, and in the spring he plays a character named. Are you playing Hamlet or Claudius?
Thanks, man. I'm playing Hamlet.
Hamlet.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's an evolution there from Pig Vomit to Hamlet.
That's good.
It's sort of.
Thank you for the visual aid, sir. That was good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to follow that. Yes, indeed. One can move up the ladder. One can move up the ladder. Yes,
You're
sir.
killing me.
Come on, man.
Oh, jeez. Who've been some of you? Let's go back.
That's question 4. Okay, here
Let's
we
go
go.
to that little red.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who've been some of the major influences in your career?
Well, you mean like particular actors and
Yeah,
stuff
sure.
like that? Well, it's funny because, I think of major influence. Well, doing the stuff it showed, I don't think I would have been an actor if I hadn't done stuff there. That was a big influence. And there were people I worked with there. There was an actor I worked with there. I don't know if he ever became an actor. It was the guy I did a play with there named Conrad Mathai. He was one of the best actors I ever
Let's go
seen.
back to that play because I skipped over it accidentally. Go back. Tell us about that.
Well, that was a thing. It was a play. It was a guy who did do a lot of acting there. His name was Conrad Mathai, and I don't know whatever happened to him. Is he here? Is
Conrad here?
I wouldn't have figured he would show up. But I don't know if he ever went into acting or not, but he was a kind of remarkable actor. At 16, 17 years old, he was as good as anybody. I mean, he was amazing. And he was doing some kind of project or something, so he asked me if I wanted to do it. And it was this play called Greater Tuna, where we both played multiple parts, like 10 parts apiece or something like that. And it was great. It was really fun. And it was the kind of thing that sold me in the back of my mind on acting. I didn't, it didn't come to the forefront of my mind until many years later.
Well, I think anybody who saw that, and that was, you did that as maybe a spring project, the spring term of your senior year,
I
as
think
recall.
so, yeah.
And it was done in the chapel basement, what's
Right.
now the Joan Gelb Theater.
Uh-huh.
It's been redone. It's
Oh,
a much
really?
nicer space today than it was when you performed there.
Of course.
But I think anybody who saw that, and certainly Conrad was a fine actor.
He was amazing.
But I think we were blown away by what you did
Oh, cool.
on that stage. And
Ah.
I was saying, I remember saying to myself, and I think I was your advisor at the time, and I was saying, where has this Paul Giamatti been? Which, this is a side.
I was in the pool.
Yeah. I mean, it was truly a wonderful.
Well, that's what it was for me.
Performance.
I was like,
it was-
oh, right, this is what I like to do.
And
I didn't know
I
it.
imagine the response
Sure.
you got was
Sure.
typical of what I just said.
No, it was great. But it really was a thing of me saying, right, I get it. This is what I probably should do with myself. But like I say, I didn't know that for still a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen another production of Greater Tuna?
No. For a while, at that time, it was being done all over the place.
It was?
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody ought to do that play again.
Yeah. Have you thought about doing it?
No, it's never occurred
Maybe
to
you
me.
should.
That's not a bad idea. You want to do it with me, Ed?
Well, let's see.
We're kind of
Let's
doing
see
it
how
right
this
now.
goes. Let's see how
We'll
this
see
ends
how
out.
this plays out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Okay. How do you decide on what roles you're going to play?
I don't
How do you
know.
decide what part what role you're going to take?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, one of the things
What's the process?
There isn't much of a process. I mean, honestly, there's not much of a. I mean, one of the things I like about doing what I do is I don't know what I'm going to be doing. next. I don't have to have a plan, really. I've never had a plan, obviously. And so it's like, I just, it's not totally job to job, but, I'll get something. And honestly, if I keep reading it, that's an indication right away. If I can get past page 5, something's compelling me to keep reading, because a lot of it's not very good that I read. And so often it's the story's got to be interesting to me first. And it's got to be, and I like variety, which is maybe not a great way to think about how to go about picking parts, but I don't want to be bored. And I like to find different things. But it's often the piece itself even more than the role. Because the movie, for an actor in a movie, the movie is what matters. You have a great performance in a bad movie, and it just doesn't matter. It's a bad movie. It's not the actor's medium. So I'm more interested in the director and in the piece itself, and then the part.
Who's some of your favorite directors? Who do you like to work with?
Oh, I've worked with a lot of great guys. I just did a movie with this guy, David Cronenberg, who's a great Canadian director who's directed a lot of very strange, sort of horror-ish, science fiction-y, kind of weird genre stuff. I just did a movie with him that was great. And I enjoyed working with the guy who did Sideways, Alexander Payne. Gosh, I don't know, man. I've worked with so many great people. Those two guys stand out in my head. They were really great. Yeah.
Now, early in your career, you were heralded as one of the great supporting actors. And you've sort of migrated from supporting actor to...
Visual aid again.
Want to do that again?
No, it's cool. Stay down, man. Stay down.
To leading man.
Yeah, to some.
Do you think of yourself as a leading man
No.
or a supporting actor?
I just think of myself as an actor. I don't think of it.
You don't categorize.
No, not really. But it's true. But obviously, the categories exist. So, I have always been a supporting actor, and it is more the way I think. It's a bit of an anomaly for a guy like me to become a leading man. And I don't feel like a lot of the parts I played are sort of in an ensemble, and they're sort of what you, I guess, would call like a character lead, which I don't really know what that means, but people will say that it just means the bald guy is playing the lead. The funny-looking bald guy with funny teeth is playing the lead instead of the usual guy. So, but I look at it as whatever. And oftentimes the supporting parts are more interesting. They're more colorful. You're actually required to be more eccentric and vivid, and it's a different body chemistry, and it's harder, it's been much more of a learning process how to play a leading man. It's much harder in some ways on me. I don't have the body chemistry. Supporting stuff's more like a sprint, and it's like, I like that, and you get to work in this compact space, and it's much more energetic in some ways, different kind of energy. If that makes any sense. Am I making any sense? Just cut me off.
It's early.
Yeah.
Are you ever handed a script, and presumably when you're handed a script, it's with the idea that you're reading it for a certain part.
Yeah.
Are you ever handed a script and you read through it and you say, well, I think I'd really rather read for this person rather than that person?
I've done that once. I think I did that.
How did that work out for you?
It did work out. I got the part, actually. Yeah. It's not the greatest movie in the world that I did, but it was an action movie that I did with Kevin Spacey and Sam Jackson called The Negotiator. And I can't remember what part they were calling me in for, but I read the script, and there was a part of this kind of police informant. And I was like, oh, I can do that one. No, but it was a really good part, actually. And I thought, that's much more fun. I can do that. And they heard me out, and I did it, and I got the part. But that's the only time I sort of had the chutzpah to do that. Most of the time, though, the parts are great. I get really good parts. I don't ever have anything to complain about.
Do you have a favorite character you've played?
There's a movie I did called The Illusionist. I don't know if you ever saw that, with Edward Norton's in it. And I really liked that movie, and I really liked playing that part. And so that's probably my favorite part. I got to play it I was a chief of the Austro-Hungarian secret police. So, man, I was like, oh, great. I get to have black leather gloves and a pipe, and I get to have a black overcoat, and I get to lurk in the corners and stuff, and I get to be a detective. I'd never gotten to be a detective. It's the closest thing I'll get to playing Hercule Poirot or something, which I'm never going to play a good detective. I'm going to play a crappy detective, which is what I play in that. But I love playing that part.
Yeah. What's the most difficult role you've taken on?
Wow, most of them feel difficult to me. None of it feels easy to me. Depends. There's different kinds of difficulty. I mean, the Cronenberg thing I just did was very hard because it was a 20-page scene, which you never even get in a play, much less a movie.
Now, what's that?
It's called Cosmopolis, and I play a sketchy psychopath for 20 pages, though, with very long monologues and stuff. That was very difficult. But I did this thing for HBO, this John Adams thing, this big, huge.
You did that?
I did. I appeared in that. Thank you. I appeared in that. And that was difficult just stamina-wise, physically. I mean, the part was obviously difficult, but it was the stamina of that it was incredibly demanding, physically.
Yeah. I was going to, I mean, obviously, I think we all know Paul won the enemy.
The Enemy Award?
It's better than,
Nice,
I started
man.
to say Emina.
Enema. Cow, man.
Yeah, you won an award for that.
Yes.
That was a mammoth production, both in terms of the scale of the production, the costumes, the sets, the locations. You filmed in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
You filmed in Europe.
Yeah, we filmed in Hungary.
Why?
Cheap labor, basically. Really? Yeah, and the European, they had to, there's stuff that takes place in Europe, so there were.
So you
things
shot
that
in
vaguely,
Europe.
so we went to Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
So, but then there were enough sort of castles that looked enough like a castle in France and stuff like that. But also, frankly, New England doesn't look like New England anymore. The Hungarian countryside looks more like New England than New England does, and it's cheaper to shoot there. Yeah. So it was a great experience, but it was very bizarre to be surrounded by a Hungarian crew who were all speaking a language that sounds like Martian. And you're playing all the great American heroes, and they have no idea. They couldn't care less what you're doing.
You know what was bizarre?
Yeah.
Was to go into Barnes and Noble and notice that on the paperback edition of David McCulloch's book, with the picture of John Adams on the front, it wasn't John Adams.
No,
it was Paul Giamatti.
It was bizarre. You think it was bizarre for you, man? It was bizarre for me. I was like, guys, sales are going to plummet of this book. I was like, people are going to be like, who the hell is that guy? That was a tough one, just because it was so much time. I was there, I never had a day off in 120 days or something like that.
Wow.
So it was just constant work, and I was constantly getting 5-page speeches handed to me 2 minutes before I had to do them. And it's all like, so the it was all this just like, the gentleman from South Carolina. It was just like, oh my God. It was just, you gotta be kidding me. So that was hard. It was hard.
One of the things
I actually broke my hand doing one of those one day. I hit the table so hard because I was so tired. I broke my hand during that thing.
Did you really?
Yeah, I broke my hand.
You're weird.
Just a bit of trivia. Yeah.
A little weird. Okay. It was fun to see. You were not aware of it at the time. I may have mentioned this to you afterwards, since, but it was watching that series, and one of the other actors in the series was a guy named John Lloyd. John graduated from Choate in 75.
Yeah.
Went to Williams.
I remember him coming up to me and telling me that.
Yeah.
It was great.
The homework that, since I was told we would have a screen that would descend from the ceiling, because I had hoped to show a couple of clips this morning, but I was vetoed on that.
That's cool.
It was reduced to homework.
Yeah.
And people were encouraged to look at one of the scenes from John Adams, which I love.
At home? They were encouraged to watch it at home?
At home on their, on the YouTube clip.
Understood.
And it's the clip is of when John Adams presents his credentials. He's the newly appointed ambassador to the court of St. James. He's presenting his credentials to George III, and of course, the tension of here is John Adams, one of the leaders of the Revolution, George III, King of England, who himself says, I was the last to agree to separation, I believe. But there's this beautiful scene of you walking up this grand staircase and going in and having this audience with the king. And it is so beautifully underplayed.
Yeah. Well, that guy is great who plays the king, too. He's amazing. Yeah, he's really great.
So was Paul.
Is he here today, Paul?
Not the one I remember with such affection. And so much of it was in your face.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Well,
If
that's
not, you don't have to. I can
no,
move
no.
on.
That's an interesting scene because that was all transcribed in the moment. I mean, people were standing around them writing all of that down. So that's all fairly. That's pretty much what they said, and not all of it. They cut it down.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually all really what they were saying to each
So
other.
it's historical
And there was
record.
there were lots of moments throughout that thing where we used real stuff, real speeches, real letters, what people had transcribed. But that was pretty much completely transcribed, that whole meeting. And so we were just saying what was there. That was the scene when I read the script that made me want to do the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, and I also thought it had this feeling of like Captain Kirk meeting the Klingon commander. It really did. I was like, it had this feeling of like that kind of titanic cosmic meeting of two guys. And I was like, this is really pretty cool because you don't see that. I mean, it's fantastic.
Maybe, since we don't have the video, maybe you'd like to
No,
show us
I think you should get up
the
and act it
courtesy.
out. I think you should get up and act it
No,
out.
the curtsy, you know. You
Oh
work-
God, no, I can't do that, man.
can't do the curtsy?
No, I can't stand up. It's too early for me.
Okay, well, another HBO film you did, Too Big to Fail, about a year ago, and you played the character of the head of the Fed, Ben Bernanke. How difficult? How do you prepare to play a living public figure?
It's hard.
How did you prepare the Bernanke role?
He was particularly hard, and that was a particularly interesting part to me because he has no affect at all. I mean, he's got no personality. I mean, you know, but he does. I mean, well, seemingly he has no. Well, but he does. I mean, I don't mean.
No,
to,
I know.
But really, is he here? I mean, I don't mean to bust on the chairman of the Federal Reserve, but you know, he's affectless. You know, he's playing everything so close to the vest that he's deeply closed off. Right? Really? Is he over there? What do you? No. So that was the challenge: was how do you play a guy who has no discernible character, nothing to grab a hold of, which is the thing to grab a hold of, obviously. But what was amazing was I sort of offhandedly said, "Boy, I'd love to meet him." And one of the guys another guy in the cast said, "Well, I happen to know somebody that can set up a lunch with him." And I thought, "Oh, great! And now I may get to see what he's like."
Yeah.
And so I went to have lunch with him, which is incredible he wanted to do it. I think he was just curious. And I went to have lunch with him, and of course he was affectless and completely the same. He was completely affectless. And the only thing I remember him doing is he got a Cobb salad. And we were sitting there talking, and he was really just like, "Well, that's very interesting. Great, that's great. Thank you very much." And he sort of looked at the salad. It was the one flash of emotion he showed. He went, "There's no bacon in here. How come there's no bacon?" Like this. He goes, "I'm going to give you a Cobb salad with no bacon." Like that. And then he just went right back to being, "Yes, that's very interesting." And I was like, that's it. There he is, right there, the one flash of emotion from the guy. And so, but what was interesting was to try and do a guy, I mean, it was incredible to be able to sit there with him. And so I got a lot of the outward sort of stuff, his mannerisms and stuff, and just had to figure this guy was panicking inside all the time and that he's holding everything in incredibly, and he's the smartest guy in the room. And he's a little arrogant about that, more than a little arrogant about being the smartest guy in the room. And he showed flashes of that. So I got to sit with him.
Well, and there's a scene in the movie where you're having lunch. You're having a salad.
I'm having oatmeal.
Oh,
I
it's
said,
oatmeal.
because I asked him, the one thing I said to him was, I have all these breakfast scenes, what'd you eat for breakfast? And he got this really paranoid look on his face. And he was kind of like, well, I ate a lot of oatmeal, I ate oatmeal. He was really like, why the hell is this guy asking me what I ate for breakfast? I mean, I could tell he was really just like, why is he looking at me like that? And so I was like, good, great, oatmeal. And then we just put a little thing about oatmeal.
Yeah, and you just sort of, in the movie, you're sort of just
Toying with my oatmeal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, Paul has won an enemy. Jeez.
Holy cow.
You want to read this for me?
Yeah, I've won an Emmy.
An Emmy?
A Golden Globe? Really? I got one of those.
Got a glob.
I have that proudly displayed in my bathroom, my Golden Globe. on the back of my toilet.
Yeah.
Screen actors. Okay. You
Golden
got it. You can do the
Globe.
rest of it. Golden Globe.
Screen Actors Guild Award. He's been nominated for an Academy Award. He's won a host of regional awards. He's played on both on and off Broadway. And by my count, you have been in 55
right?
motion pictures.
I didn't know that.
I took the time to do it. 55 motion pictures. With some of the major actors of our time. Listen to this catalog. Christopher Plummer, Laura Linney, George Clooney, Julia Roberts, Edward Norton, Al Pacino, Helen Mirren, Dustin Hoffman, Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Matt Damon, Tom Hanks, and I'm sure there are others. The only name missing there is Maddox.
Yeah, really? Oh boy, what did we do together?
No, I'm saying.
Oh, you want to do something together?
Have you seen my Lear?
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now, aren't I? It's going on right now, isn't it?
I have 3 daughters. I have 3 daughters.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
That's
oh,
right.
how sharper than a serpent's
wow.
tooth it is to have a thankless child.
That's pretty good, man. Pretty good, man. That's pretty good, man. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah, okay. I'm getting the sign over
Are you?
there.
Like-
That's an inappropriate sign. Put the finger down. Well, I obviously haven't finished all I wanted to say, so I'm going to just quickly.
Okay.
You have a new film,
Yeah.
Rock of Ages.
Yes.
You, I understand, sing in that
Very
film.
little,
Now, I asked, we put a link to the clip from Duet where you sing with Andre Brower.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I almost dropped dead.
Really?
Awesome.
Really?
Just a little tenderness.
Thanks, man.
I had never seen that side of you. I had played it over and over. I have sent it to friends.
Okay. Wow, they must be thrilled to get that.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
No,
Come on, right now.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I don't really remember
Yeah.
it, man.
Go. You start.
Oh, she may be weary.
Weary.
Wow, that's it, really?
Go on.
And some girls, they do get weary. Wearing that same old shaggy dress.
Yes.
There you go. But when she gets weary, try a little tenderness.
Give it up for Paul. Yes.
I can't believe it. Only you would get me to do that. Woo! You're the only...
I didn't know. I just didn't know.
I can't sing it, as you can tell. I can barely sing it.
You were wonderful. Now
You're the only person I would ever do that
You
for.
sing in Rock of Ages.
Very little.
You want to do a little White Snake for us?
Man, it's really funny how I remember that song, Try a Little Tenderness. I sing one line, I think. The fuck is it? Excuse me. Here I go again. Here I go again. That's it. That's what I do in the movie. I think that's it.
Here I go again.
Yeah.
4 words.
Yeah.
Tough.
I know, man.
Tough. Okay. And there's a lot of buzz
Yep.
about Hamlet coming to the Yale Rep
Yep.
next spring.
Okay.
First Shakespeare?
No, I haven't done Shakespeare in a long time.
Yeah.
No, I think the last Shakespeare I did was As You Like It, and I played Jaques, which was, it was a weird idea to have a young man play Jaques. It doesn't really work, I didn't think. But that's the last one I did, and that was, 15 years ago.
All right. This is enough about you.
Okay.
Now, why don't you ask me some questions?
What's going on with you, man?
We've got just a few minutes left, and thought perhaps some of you might have questions for Paul. Anybody? No questions? We covered everything?
There's a lady over there.
Oh, there we go. Right here. Yes.
Hi. I don't really have a question.
Hi, Georgette.
Changed my life and my husband's life with your breakout movie called Sideways.
Thank you.
I remember it. That was a breakout movie in our house. He woke up every morning where mom used to say, "Why wasn't I Jack?" We have a house in Solvang where that movie was filmed.
Yeah.
And he's a car guy, and he had to have that Saab. So he flew out to Houston to buy the Saab
Right.
and drove it to Solvang. And on the way, he bumped into a town named Marfa, Texas.
Yeah.
He's now one of the biggest developers in Marfa,
Awesome.
Texas. He called me up and said, "Honey, we're going to move to Marfa, Texas."
Right.
I was like, "Texas?" And you just had to know that that movie changed his life.
Oh, it's amazing, man. That's amazing. Thank you.
That's
Thanks.
the guy, Ian.
That's amazing. That's a beautiful. Marfa's beautiful. I accidentally came across Marfa driving around, and it's beautiful. I can't believe that car still runs, actually. Does it?
It's gone from Solvang back to Texas last weekend.
Excellent. Man. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like that movie. Thanks, man. Thank
In the
you.
car.
Yeah, and the car. Yeah.
Hi,
Hey.
I'm Stephanie. Is there a role that you wish you could play, or is there a role that you're dying to play that you hope that you'll have an opportunity to play before
Before I die. There's a lot of things I'd like. There's a lot of Beckett characters that I'd like to do. I did Waiting for Godot once, and I'd love to do it again and play any of those other characters. Krapp's Last Tape, which I probably should do. I'll be dying when I do it. I should do it ideally when I don't know. There's lots of Shakespeare things. It's like Iago and stuff like that, but I don't know if I'll ever get to do those things. But Hamlet's pretty good. I don't know. Again, part of the reason I like doing this is I never know what I'm going to do next. You know, I have no idea what part I'm going to play, so I never know, and that's part of what's nice about it. So,
Yes.
I think I want to say I saw Greater Tuna.
Ah.
I laughed until I cried and screamed like the 14-year-old girl I was. It was amazing.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you for that. It was
Sure.
so wonderful. I think you recently did Romeo and Juliet as a film.
Yeah.
Do you find
Yes, I forgot about that.
acting Shakespeare for the camera? I know directors will try and do lots of different things to make Shakespeare work filmically.
Yeah.
Do you find as an actor there are particular things that you did to make it work for the camera differently than non-Shakespeare?
Yeah. But what's interesting about that thing, and it's very interesting, is it's a kind of adaptation. There's a lot of Shakespeare left, but there's lots that isn't quite Shakespeare, a little sketchy. But there's plenty of actual Shakespeare, and I play the monk, I play the friar in it, Friar Lawrence. You know, I actually think in lots of ways it's easier for an actor to do Shakespeare on film because you don't have to fill a whole thing, and you know, you can actually get more detailed. I mean, you should be detailed with the language anyway, but you can kind of pull it in a little bit more. I think it's actually easier, and it works wonderfully. And they do a lot of trickery. This thing was it's period, and it was done very straight, and it was not a whole lot of jazzy stuff to beef it up. I mean, I think they're really relying on it just being carried by the story and the words, which it will carry it, because it's an amazing, it's one of the most amazing stories in the world. I wouldn't say that I felt it was a huge difference. I had to work on it assiduously the way I would Shakespeare anyway, and then just sort of do it the way I would do it anyway. But it's exciting to do it at any time, and it's exciting to do it on film. So, anyway.
Yes, John.
Getting away from acting for a minute, when you're between parts, unemployed,
Yeah.
What do you like to do? Weekends.
Look for work.
Well, you're a bit of a workaholic.
I am a
I
bit
think
of a
you're
workaholic.
self-described
Yeah.
workaholic.
I like to work a lot. So I don't have as much downtime as I probably should. I don't know. I'm a pretty sedate guy. I swim still sometimes. I don't know. I have a kid, and I hang out with him, and I don't know. I get to do lots of crazy things. I just traveled all over the place, and I love to travel, and I get to do it for my work. I had to promote 2 movies, and I got to go to France and England, and so I like to travel and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm a pretty boring guy. I like to read a lot. I don't do a whole heck of a lot.
When you travel, do you have to beat the people away and
No, I don't have to beat them. No. I mean, it's nice. I have people recognize me, but it's not in any way that's difficult or anything. So no.
We've got time for one last question. Yes.
I'm wondering, do you have a specific process that you use when you act, or just kind of wake up and however you feel, you just kind of grab it and go?
No, I mean, there's no specific process, no. But generally, there's some process. I mean, there's certain things I rely on. But it's not just waking up and going with it every day, no. But, I'm ready to go every day. And in film, you have to be ready to be playful and change things up and things like that. It's a difficult line. I can't be over-prepared on film. It's a very funny medium. But it's always a different process. I'll see whatever it is I need to do. Seems like in some of them I need to work more on. I need to work very hard on them. Like John Adams, I had to do lots of research. I wanted to do lots of research, but I'll do other things where, the guy in Duets, the thing I sang, I didn't have to do any research for that. It was all just drawing and stuff. But it sounds stupid, but one of the things I do is I read the script, the whole script, 100, 200 times. I just read it until I'm not thinking about the words anymore. And as I read it, I'm coming up with pulling all kinds of things out of it that get put in my body and stuff. And so then I sort of have a good idea. I'm prepared. I know the words at least.
I want to go off script for just a moment.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Really, you were on script that whole time? Jesus, man.
I will never take the stage with you again. One of the, I guess, the greatest benefit, if you will, of being a teacher is watching your students, after they are students, become their own person. Watch them grow, watching them enjoy their success in whatever they choose to do. Such has been the case with Paul. And for many, Paul, is, I wouldn't say Paul is a celebrity. You don't see Paul running around with Lindsay Lohan or spending a lot of time at Hollywood.
It's a thought. That's a nice idea.
Paul, for me, Paul will always be that kid who has a voracious intellectual curiosity and an enormously creative talent that for a brief moment passed through my life and the lives of others here and has gone on to enjoy great success and to bring so much happiness to millions of people over the world. And I just so respect and admire everything you've done, Paul.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. That was painless, right?
What?
Thank you. Thank you.
One thing before you go, we were glad that you didn't become an animator. So, we do have your animation.
Oh, wow. Oh, thanks, man. Holy cow.
Thank you.
Lasta, thanks, man.
These
Thank
things
you.
live on?
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
This is why these breakfasts work. I don't think we're always going to have breakfast with an Emmy Award-winning actor.
Sign that.
That was painless, man, right?
You.
And to come to that, and here's my shameless plug, you can make donations. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Okay, that was painless.